Okay, hello everyone and thank you for coming out. Today we are going to discuss some very important issues relating to traffic safety and community well-being. We are going to discuss whether not wearing a seatbelt should be illegal in the country and communities across the state. So, when one of your family members gets into the car in the morning, do you ever feel nervous? Do you ever feel like you might not see them again, or that there's the risk of them getting in an accident and being injured or even possibly killed? Well, seatbelts greatly reduce the risk of injury in a car accident. According to the Motor Vehicle Safety Department, in an article entitled Policy Impacts on Seatbelts, people who don't wear them are 30 times more likely to be injured in a car crash. This is because seatbelts, they cross your body in a way that they contact points that are the strongest, and it prevents you from injuring vital areas on your spine, your organs, and dislocation. But not wearing seatbelts doesn't protect these points, so you're at a much higher risk of being flung from the wreck, being injured at the dash, having your head slammed against the wheel, because these contact points aren't there to protect you. And they keep occupants inside the car, and even if you survive being expelled from the vehicle, there's always the risk that the trauma of impact outside of the car will kill you. But this isn't a risk factor with seatbelts because they restrain you within the car. So another reason that seatbelts should be a mandatory requirement in every state is that states with primary seatbelt laws see lower levels of injury in car accidents. So what a primary seatbelt law is, when police pull a motorist over, they may do so because they see that the motorist isn't wearing a seatbelt. It doesn't have to be like a traffic violation and then you ticket them. You can see, the cop can see that the motorist isn't wearing their seatbelt and they can ticket them because of that one infraction. Secondary laws, the motorist can only be ticketed for a non-seatbelt infraction when they are pulled over for, say, a speeding violation, changing lanes at the wrong times, or missing a traffic signal. Seatbelt laws are divided into those two categories. Currently, Idaho is a primary seatbelt state, and the great thing about primary states is that, according to the Governor's Highway Association, enhanced enforcement, which includes primary laws, saw seatbelt use increase by 16%. And a statistic from 2008 cited that 77.3 million more people would have buckled up if secondary states had enforced primary laws, because people are afraid of the infractions. So fines in Idaho are currently around $10, and it may seem like an inconvenience, but when you think about how people view laws, they are much more likely to comply if a fine is in place. It may seem like, oh, that's unfair, or it's just another thing I have to deal with that I have to worry about paying for. But the risk of death and injury to property, injury to health, the amounts you pay for hospital visits are exponentially greater than a $10 fine set in place to remind you that it's not okay to go without a seatbelt. So, like I said, these penalties remind people to buckle up, and they remove the risk of devastating loss to the community, to infrastructure. Even in Idaho here, we've had several tragic losses within the past few years. One of the more well-known campaigns is Buckle Up for Bobby, and what that does is his face, along with a seatbelt reminder, is advertised all over Boise, and it's a reminder to people, you need to wear your seatbelts, or you could end up like Bobby did, which was a very unfortunate accident. And according to Beth Orenstein, a writer from Healthy Living, citing the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, an additional 15,000 lives are saved every year by drivers and passengers buckling up. That's 15,000 lives that seatbelts have saved, and stricter laws will certainly help foresee that many more lives are saved in the future. So emotional loss to the community, knowing a family member might have been saved if they buckled up. All of these terrible incidences can be avoided. And I have a graph here that shows some motorists with the predominance of seatbelts going into the 21st century, the number of lives saved by them. So in 1975 to 1997, we went from about 50,000 lives saved all the way up to 2008, almost 250,000 lives are saved. So that's 5 times the amount of people who have been saved by seatbelts. So last but not least, just seatbelts lower the risk of injuries, they reduce fatalities in states with primary laws, and they practice prevention that prevents tragedy and loss in the community. So, buckling up is as easy as 1, 2, 3, so save lives and click it or get a ticket.